me out. So I really looked into this topic, and there were some things that were happening that I wasn't quite sure of. So what the research is telling us is this. So in my research in my academy, I use things from PubMed, The Lancet. Thank you for inviting your followers. And I go to Harvard Medical School. They have an excellent high glycemic, low profiles on there, and just get some general information about either what's trending or what modifications I can make to make the Lean Body Academy even easier to follow. Okay, so the first one I have here is intermittent fasting. I talk about this a lot because I'm asked so much about it, but I thought I'd spend a few minutes and break it down for you. So the idea that intermittent fasting helps create some positive aspects metabolically. There's some research that supports that. However, the basic premise is you don't eat for 12 hours at 12-hour breaks. Several research papers, I think I looked at 6 of them. The problem with that is you have to make sure you're supporting certain nutritional and muscle support measures before you go that 12 hours. If not, you end up in catabolism. You may lose weight, no question, but how much of that weight is actually going to come from fat? And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. That's the real key of anything that you're doing, whether it's vanity and now health, and I'm going to talk about that right now. Body fat plays a huge role. Okay, so the no carb plan. Oh, thanks for inviting your followers. Red Bones, still too sexy. No carbs, you've all heard of that. Well, research doesn't really support that because it tends to create other issues, metabolic issues that deal with stress. So whenever we have extremes, high fat, high carb, thanks for inviting your followers, don't eat, only drink water, those on the surface may have some value, but what the research is saying is it has a psychological component. In other words, if you say, well, geez, I can't eat for 12 hours or I have to count my calories, they're saying the stress of thinking about doing that creates all these hormonal issues, cortisol being one, and belly fat, and all these problems. So when it comes to these things, we must take into the emotional component, not just the physiological, here's how the body works chemically. We're human beings. We're not metabolic robots, right? So intermittent fasting, I briefly touched on. No carbs, high fat. Couple other things. Hold on. Coconut oil. How many of you heard of coconut oil for weight loss and you went out and you got some and you're using it now? Throw up a 1. I'm just curious about my audience is what you folks are doing out there. Have you heard of like all this, it's super good, it's super, okay. All right. Now you'll notice that coconut oil almost looks like lard. Hey, thanks for inviting your followers, Mike. Almost looks like lard, but after it gets about 71 degrees, it begins to melt. You guys are familiar with that, right? How many of you went out and bought the liquid coconut oil that stays liquid all the time? Throw up a 1 if any of you gotten that one. Because it's super convenient, right? You use it like shampoo, right? Yeah, unfortunately, don't. If you're thinking about buying it, don't. If you've already bought it, use it up, and I'll tell you why. In order to get coconut oil to be viscous, to be liquid at just about any temperature, what they're removing is something called lauric acid. And they're removing that acid, which is about 50% of the acids in coconut oil. And it has huge benefits, antimicrobial, antiviral. And how it does that, it actually attacks funguses, bacteria, and viruses, their fatty membranes, and kills them. It's phenomenal stuff. It does some other things, but from a autoimmune standpoint, it's pretty powerful. So go with just a regular raw coconut oil. Don't get the liquid stuff. They're removing that key acid, that lauric acid. And there's only one element that has more lauric acid than that, and it's human breast milk. I mean, it's a phenomenal acid. If you Wikipedia it or you looked it up, you'll be really impressed what it does. So yes, it's less convenient because it looks like lard, but it's the lauric acid that they're removing. And that's what I was kind of on the fence about because a few of my academy members were showing it in pictures because we bounce recipes around, and I'm like, let me think about that. So this is the type of stuff that you get from me. You have to get to the nitty gritty of how do they keep that, how do they get that thin, and I try to figure that stuff out and hopefully explain it in a way that makes sense. If I get too nerdy, just throw up an N because I can tend to go on the nerd side. Okay. All right. So now I talked about that. So be careful of extremes. Number one, of any diet phase. It should support your lean body mass, both with water and your protein intake, and it should be reasonable, and it should take consideration in timing, the times that you eat, not just the numbers that you consume. And if there's anything regarding counting calories or know this or know that, as far as extreme goes, they're saying the stress of thinking about that can put you over the edge and create all kind of hormonal issues that can put weight on you just because of the stress of thinking about it. Okay, so I ran through my scope I did that in about what, 8 minutes. Now, any questions that I can answer? I'm here to foster a better relationship between you and your primary. I'm here to get you thinking more about being proactive instead of reactive, and thinking that your body's pretty amazing and what it can do if we just give it a chance. What happens if you have a bad back and can't exercise but want to? Do an exercise that's not traumatic. First, though, figure out why it's bad. Do you have a disc problem? Do you have, what's going on? Swim is a good idea. But when you have, bad things happening, figure them out. Like I know I've got a torn labrum in my right hip. It's a little piece of material. I know that's torn from college. So when it bothers me, I know why. And it still bothers me, but it's comforting to know that how it happened, right? You don't just want to have pain and not know. This is the Proarginine, the human growth hormone release product, and a little bit of chlorophyll. Are you familiar with the book Never Be Sick Again by... I'm somewhat familiar with that book. Which diets work? Well, actually none, but all of them have something to add, but they have to be done in a more, or rather a less extreme nature in order for it to be reasonable for the average person. How long have you eaten today? Oh, thanks. About 15 to 20 minutes. And you want to have it black. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. The only thing I think you should track is your lean body mass protein intake and your lean body mass water intake. There's other things, but those are the two biggies. Yeah, you're practically on a starving diet. Yeah, get off that, because the research is pretty clear that your body actually overhydrates, overstores calories, and you end up fatter at the end. So it's not good. It's a stress on your heart. What's your take on ketogenic diet? Well, I've been in ketosis myself. I've gotten down to 5% before. It's absolutely hell. But I utilize some of the principles in the Lean Body Academy. Getting into ketosis means you're basically burning fat for fuel, or your kidneys or renal system is in trouble. And it's nothing to just read a book to say I'm going to get into ketosis. I wouldn't recommend that at all. If you're going to get it, and I've worked with, like I said, I've done it. I've worked with athletes. I've gotten them down to, if you go on leanbodyacademy.com, you'll see a young lady there. We got her down to 7%. Why black coffee? Yeah, it's the milk and things that create problems. Because remember, coffee is a stimulant. It's doing this to your stomach, right? So when you're drinking milk, whether it's almond or cow, there's sugars in there. There's a little bit of protein in there. So it's not the best place to have that. It really wreaks havoc on your GI tract. When it comes to coffee, think lowering your volume. Yeah, I like it. I like it black, and I have the old Turkish pot with the water on the bottom and it bubbles through. Well, I get my fun in other places in life, though. We've got to really look at food from a different perspective. If food is like all your joy, you're going to have problems. It's just to satiate you and get you through life, and you find fun in other things, your family, your life, other things like that. Yeah. And I would take a break every third or fourth day. Just don't drink it, drink something else. Yerba mate or something. Give your digestive and your adrenal system a break. How can you block appetite? If you eat more nutritionally dense food, your need from the hunger portion will go away. There may be some emotional components there, but for your need to eat will go away. Yeah, I can't tolerate coffee and coconut oil. I've read some interesting stuff about fat metabolism. My stomach just can't tolerate it. Yeah, well, if you're not hungry at all, you need to eat to start small. So I recommend this, just start small and start frequently, 3 to 4 hours. Is eating 100 calories of cake the same as eating 100 calories of vegetables? It's not the same. Don't be fooled by that. Good question, though. That's an excellent question. It's not the same. All calories are not created equal. That's why people who give you a calorie diet, it just boggles the mind. Hey, Lucretia, add a tiny bit of salt to black coffee to kill the bitter taste. Interesting. I never heard of that. Examples of nutritionally dense foods like kamut, spelt, buckwheat, groats, dark leafy greens, things like that. Dairy, the research that I've read, unfermented seems to cause gastric problems. I mean, the research was kind of I was overwhelmed by how much I found. Is tofu bad? No, tofu is fine. Soy products like tofu and edamame and fermented appear to be okay. There's some research on the milk that appears to be, what did they say? An esterol precursor. So estrogen, which is a female kind of hormone, and then esterol precursor. Once I start reading stuff like that, I just it's not even worth doing. So I don't drink any milk. Kombu, I'm not following you. Do you recommend probiotics? And the company you want to use is called Flora, and they make one for children, and they make one for adults. Hey, Caton Crass, invited your followers. Thank you so much. Does plain poultry make you gain weight? Plain poultry. Like chicken? Shouldn't? Yeah, there's something going on. Remember, okay, here's a quiz, guys. I like to quiz you because you're so smart on my scopes. And thank you for the docs who follow me and the fitness people. We're just trying to help. I'm just going about it in this fashion. What was I going to say? So what's the two main? Well, actually, there's three reasons. What are one of the three reasons we crave food? Hey, thanks for inviting your followers, guys. Thanks, Donna. Thank you so much. What's the three reasons? Just pick one. Hunger? Yeah, but be more definitive. What's causing that hunger? Like, give me definitive. Tired? Okay. Hello. Bored, tired, same thing. Emotional, lack of energy, anxiety, boredom. All these are really good answers. Nope. So thank you so much. Okay. So if we looked at us like we were human robots, we would eat for two reasons. Caloric, that's correct. Calories, or nutritional. That's the two main reasons the body craves food. The problem is there's that emotional part of it. And you guys know what I'm talking about. Throw up a one if you totally you get bored, you get emotional, and it's almost like a unidentified flying object flying in your mouth. Like it just happens, right? Okay. So we need to take that into account. We want to eliminate the first two. Well, it's rare that you're going to have, right, you're far real. It's rare that you're going to have a calorie deficiency. This country is one of the most obese countries in the world. India is going to beat us out, and China, but that's only because of their population. But per capita, we win the obesity battle. That's unfortunate. Hey, thanks for inviting your followers. Now, you want to rule out the first two, so you want to get foods that are very nutritionally dense. Like I talked about, spelt. So they have a high nutritional value. So if your body is craving nutrition and you satisfy it, you're going to eat less in that regard. The emotional aspect, I've got some audios in the coaching that help you kind of deal with those and get those out in the open. But it's an important component. Can you show your biceps? No, you guys ask me that a lot. I'm a little muscular, but I'm not here for that. Foods for lean muscle. You got to support your lean muscle mass. But what's a constipation reliever? You want a really good constipation reliever is get a couple, 3 prunes, stick them in some fresh water, put your teacup lid on it, and let it sit in the fridge for about 2 or 3 hours. Take it out, let it warm to room temperature, and drink it and eat the prunes. I guarantee you'll be moving along. Derlippy has the guns. You guys are funny. Eating spicy food help to prevent. They're interesting. There's some research that I was familiar with, and they did a huge study on that. They found that nationalities, Hispanic, Spanish, that had spicier foods had a lower incidence of lower GI cancer. It's pretty interesting, right? Brussels sprouts, pretty dense. Can you explain why that? I have no idea. I'm going to buy your Life Without Diabetes book in June. I'm highly interested. Good. Just make sure you read it there, Nick. It'll help you. Raw broccoli. Yeah, I don't recommend eating raw crucifers because we don't have the enzyme to digest them. We don't have the amylase enzyme, unfortunately. We don't chew our cud. We don't have an extra stomach. So if you eat raw broccoli, most likely you'll get gas. You'll get really gassy. So walking better because running is better. Anytime you leave the ground and hit it again, which running does, you leave your feet for a fraction of a second, you pound. And as you get older, and you guys will know this, that are 35 and above, you can put a 1 up if you agree. As you get older, your joints don't respond the way they did when we were in college or in our 20s. We can't just jump up and down on boxes and push over tires. It sounds good, but that's why you don't see a 40-year-old doing stuff like that, right? But we have to exercise, but there's ways you have to think about it from a trauma perspective. I'm so fat I want to use L-carnitine. What about? Oh, carnitine it will help, but don't hang your hat on it. That's all I'm saying. Here's the problem that I see happening. People, they have an intent to get lean or get healthy, and they watch a media blurb on one thing, and they think that one thing is going to do it. How many, you can put up a 1 if you've been there before. It's not going to happen. What I call those are exotics, and they're, I've got CLAs in my kitchen, I've got L-carnitine in my kitchen, but my diet is pretty tight for the most part. I want to get down to 9%. Come on, I'm 50 years old. Peanut butter, a good meat substitute. It has to be raw though, big fella. It has to be raw. Can I get a program from your 20? Can I get on your program from your 20? Yeah, 20s. What about glenbuterol medicines? If you need drugs like that, you need to go to a doctor that's what they do. Can I be anorexic? I don't know. Well, if you want to get real aggressive, you can take it before you train, because remember, it's a growth hormone releaser and an uptake formula, and then 30 minutes before bed if you really want to, maximize your growth hormone release. Are all runners doing harm to their bodies? You have to talk to them. Usually you'll see people who run regularly, they're lighter. The last thing you want to do is, if you're big and muscular, thinking about running. Like I said, you can get away with a lot of things in your 20s and 30s. Start pushing 40, a little bit different story, unfortunately. Breast proteins besides chicken. There's beef and there's eggs. And the synthetic one is isolated whey, which has a biological value that's pretty high. Yeah, 30 minutes before bed, that's a good time. Remember, we release our maximum GH about 90 minutes after we fall asleep. Some say an hour, but let's say 90 minutes. That's when we release the most. Fish is good. The rawer the better. So like sashimi or poke has a much higher biological value for protein than a cooked fish. With exercising, it depends. And the question I ask is, how many of you, this is real plain, I'm going to make it real simple, at least I'm going to try to. How many of you want to get your bodies leaner? Forget about the methods. How many want to be leaner? Put up a 1. We're not talking methods right now. Swimming, but that doesn't matter. Okay. And most people do. When you start working out, that's just a term we use because the media has that dredged into our brains. But our goal is, how can I get leaner and how can I get healthier, right? I mean, that's pretty. So what you want to make sure you're doing is, okay, if I want to get leaner, you're funny. I got to support the muscle that I currently have in order to get more. It's like saying you're in business and you want to sell more products, so you have to get more. It's just you have to get you have to support what you already have. And unfortunately, I would say most people don't. Most people don't support the muscle that they have. So then they try these activities, and you guys can put up a 1 again if you agree. You join a gym, you get a trainer, and you everyone's gung-ho, and you're doing 3-4 weeks. Throw up a 1 if you agree. And you get on the scale, and you lost 4 pounds, but you don't look any better from a physical standpoint. Like you still look loose. You're not happy with your, you don't see a physical change. And who wants to know why? I'll explain to you why. It's going to have to be qualified. This is going to be good. This will kind of make it make sense, I'm hoping. And my goal is to always make my scopes make sense. Okay. Well, diet, but let's get more accurate than that. Remember, exercise is a form of trauma. It's controlled trauma. So when you exercise your body, you're breaking things down. And in the muscles, they're called actin and myosin filaments. They slide around each other like this and they contract. Well, when you exercise and you put force on them, you lift weights and you run or whatever you're going to do, you traumatize those filaments. Now they have to rebuild and repair. Well, they need material for that. So they're going to your digestive tract and say, okay, where's the amino acids? Where's the branch chains or wherever? And the body says, oh, we don't have any. You know what happens to that muscle? You urinate it out, or you breathe. You urinate, you get rid of it. It breaks down and turns into a liquid and goes away. So what happens is your lean muscle mass drops and your body fat percentage automatically goes up. So when that happens, let me pause for a moment. When you see inappropriate things on people's scopes or your own scope, please don't take it personal. Just block them and just move on. It's unfortunate, but some people feel that they have to do that. And enough people block them, they won't have any plan. You can block them too on your end. If you want to have that type of dialogue on your scope, please, by all means. But I have a lot of young kids that watch me, and I take great pride in that. So, okay, so you break down the muscle. If you don't give enough raw materials to repair it, you actually get you actually get fatter. Say, how can I lose weight and get fatter at the same time? If I'm making sense, put up a 1. If I'm getting too nerdy, put up an N. I punch them all. Yeah, make sure you keep me on the nerd meter here because I can get carried away with this stuff. Thanks for mentioning me on Twitter, Ebony Davis. Yeah, that's chlorophyll and human growth hormone release of the proarginine. So you can actually get fatter, but you can lose weight, and that's what's happening. So before you guys think about doing any exercise or MCT oil or CLAs, you got to sit down and say, okay, what's my body fat percentage? What's my lean body mass? And how do I support that? In the first 2 weeks of my academy, it's like you get videos, 3 or 4 minute videos that teach you how to do that, and it's so key. You know, you've got 12 weeks out, but it's so key. MCT oil is a medium chain fat, and it's necessary for fat metabolism to convert energy into fuel. You just don't start working out and burn fat for fuel. Hey, Joey, thanks for mentioning me. It doesn't work like that. If it worked like that, I'd be eating lemon meringue pie twice a day. I guarantee it. But it doesn't work that way. Hey, Go Rice Go, thanks for inviting your followers. You have to create an environment so your body goes after the fat that you have. And exercise alone will not do that. Let me repeat that. Exercise alone will not put you into a fat metabolism state. If anyone's telling you that, they're being inaccurate. And I'm not here to have any ad hominem attacks on anyone or be negative about any element. There's just certain physiological things that have to be answered. Okay, doctor, please answer me. Okay, re-ask it again. Remember, if it's 4 lines or longer, you guys have to copy and repaste it. Does alpha-lipoic acid help with fatigue? It can if you have an alpha-lipoic acid deficiency. Do you follow me? So you got to break these things down, and they have to be qualified. So how do you build strong metabolism? Support your lean muscle mass. And crack that egg, by the way. Some people eat everything and still be skinny. There's some genetic anomalies out there, but I'm telling you, it's not the norm. Hey, Vince, thanks for sharing. Kombucha tea, I drink it. I drink the high alcohol one. Oh, it's like 0.3. How do you target gut fat? You cannot. It doesn't work that way. Stress now can put it there. That's why you want to avoid low-calorie diets or counting calories. They're saying the mere act of doing that creates belly fat. Doesn't matter. Okay. When you begin to lose fat, this is going to be a cool question. I hope it's going to be a cool question. When you begin to lose fat, where do you think the first place the body begins to take it from? You know, if you're really lean already, that's a different matter. But let's say the average person that's 35% body fat or more, where do you think the body takes it from first? Oh, my daughter's asleep and my wife is still in Hawaii. She's painting. I actually did it for her scope today. Okay, the face, muscle, face. Okay. Getting a lot of face, organs, interesting, chest. Okay, for women, I'll try to answer that. I see where you're going with that. It's in and around the internal organs. That's the first place the body goes after fat metabolism, because here's why. And this is research that I've read in probably the last 6 months. What research appears to be saying now is even 1 gram of fat in and around the pancreas can influence hormone expression. 1 gram. 1 gram is like this big. And they're saying that over whatever naturally should be there. The problem is we're getting too fat. So a lot of people in the academy that are above, 250, close to 300 pounds, they will not see any outward changes. They'll shrink and do different things in the academy. But what's happening is their body's metabolizing that internal fat first. It knows what it's doing. And that's going to give you metabolic stability. That's why it's so important. I'm too fat, several grams around my organs. Hey guys, thanks for inviting your follow. I really appreciate it. Do you think that people who have anxiety disorders are disadvantaged regarding fat loss? I think anyone that has a condition like that is at a disadvantage, but now we have to take a step back and say, okay, I've got some anxiety issues. What am I doing to either support that situation or to make it worse? Can I lose weight without exercising and starving? Absolutely you can. That's what my academy is all about. Yeah, one-way trip to Palookaville. Don't count calories. The research, it's not me. Remember, guys, I have no axe to grind. I've got no pills on. I endorse a growth hormone product, but it's totally different. but I have no personal vendettas or anything like that. If the research changes, I'll change. But when I come up and I'm taking a position on these elements, it's based on PubMed or the Lancet and several reports, not just one. I retired to get rid of my anxiety and stress from work. Excellent. Excellent. Now, especially the women, understand this. Once you guys get above 30%, and don't believe me, look it up. Go to Wikipedia, go to PubMed, type in body fat and ovarian cancer, body fat and breast cancer. You'll see some hard evidence that the higher you guys get above 30%, the more peril you're placing yourselves in. What's a healthy body fat percentage of 40? For females below 23, for males below 21. How long was the bike ride? I just went with my daughter today. She had a little kick scooter. We went down and about a half hour. Are supplements good for you? They can be, but they're not going to pull you out of the well. You have to do other things. Doc, the guy is wanting to know if he can have rice on a diet. Yeah, you can have it. I wouldn't do white, though. I have no idea what Turkish rice is. I'm sorry. You want to eat rice with the husk on it. That's where the B vitamins and the fiber is. Hey, Lynn, thanks for joining. I'm trying to get my fat down. I've lost about 20 pounds. But how much of that was fat? That's what you want to know. She's asking if Quest bars. No, they're not, unfortunately. Husk, yeah, that's the outer shell of the rice. The white is the germ. It's the carbohydrate portion. Everything else has been wiped away. As long as the husk is still on it. That's what I mean. The media kind of gives us these terms. We have to know, hey, is it full encased rice with the husk and the germ, not just the germ. Stevia thought sweet leaf is the best. It's the only one that I know that absolutely is pure. Yeah, I cut out rice too. I'm trying to get to 9%, and I'm 52, so my metabolism is not what it was when I was in my 20s, that's for sure. Thanks for sharing, Lynn. My friend's eating 10 eggs of protein. That's right or not. Depends how big your friend is. And remember, the research on eggs is pretty positive. It's not what we've been led to believe by the media. There's been some hard studies on eggs. It actually improves HDL and some other things. What do the human growth hormone shots do harmful? Well, these aren't shots. This is a drink to help your body release it more. If you're talking about doing, what you're talking about is not human growth hormone. You're talking about somatotropin, which is the synthetic version of human growth hormone. Then you go see, an MD or a DO who's trained and licensed to do that sort of medicine, and then you go that route. I would look at other options before I jump to that, though. Do you know rice with husks are called... I missed that. I'm sorry. They just come all at once. For those of you guys who don't scope, I get questions and they just blast on my screen. So I have to pick one, or I'll just won't answer them properly. I'm sorry. Thanks for answering my question, Doc. Bedtime. Okay. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, give that a try and take a break every 3-4 days. Take a break from coffee. Hey, thanks on tweeting me out, guys. I appreciate it. You can follow me at that little number down there or swipe up the screen. You'll know when I scope. Cracking all the joints, knuckles, neck, back. Your spine I would leave to a chiropractor, but your knuckles and things, as long as it doesn't hurt, you can do it. I don't think it's a problem. I have coffee only 2 times a week. Okay, great. You should take a break. That's the pro-arginine and the chlorophyll. If you go to leanbodyacademy.com, you get 7 days free on my program. When you go inside of it, on the right-hand side, you'll see Dr. George approved products. And there are only, I think, 5 of them that I approve. I flew up to the company. I met with the head researcher. A lot of respect for him. I met with the president. And I've been on the product probably 25 weeks. I probably dropped a solid 6.5% body fat. Pretty impressive, right? Husk on rice means organic. No, I don't even get into the organic. It just means the rice is whole. It hasn't been fractionated. Why you don't know Turkish? My English is not so good. That's okay. Believe me, when I type, my English isn't that good either, so it's okay. There's a Ecuadorian tea called yerba mate. It's considered a non-alkaloid based caffeine, and it appears to be tolerated better by the liver and by the adrenal glands. Is your program good for strength? But absolutely, it's good. You'll see a fitness girl in there. She's down at 7% at 42 years of age. She looks phenomenal, just phenomenal. What do you know? You have to get a meter, either a hydrostatic testing or a bioimpedance meter. What are your thoughts on dairy milk? Yeah, I don't recommend any unfermented dairy based on the research that I've read. Don't really get in this organic and not organic. Is it a complete rice? Does it have the husk and the germ? Natural and organic, those terms are so widely distorted that it even confuses me sometimes. It can be. Just be sure at nighttime you're drinking decaffeinated. I know this off topic. How do you do again? Enjoy healthy food in my active lifestyle. Yeah, but you need to know your body fat. So what I would do, first thing I'd do is, if you're just vaguely interested, call the gym and see if they do it. If you really want to get into it, get the meter. It's like $30, $35. Where are you from? Originally from Ohio, but I grew up in Las Vegas and been in California and Hawaii for the last 25 years. Tea from McDonald's help your body. I don't really know. I don't recommend too much stuff from there. I'm sorry. I wish they would improve the quality of what they're serving. That's unfortunate. And I don't say that happily because I know it's convenient. I know it is. I'd love to drive through there and get my daughter chicken McNuggets or a hamburger or something, but that stuff is so addicting. Can I have the program you had when you were 500 pounds? It's a similar, actually, no. It's similar. Actually, I'm much smarter now than I was then. Way smarter, fortunately. Hey, Becca, thanks for inviting your followers. Is green tea safe? Yeah, it's pretty, got some decent quality. Remember, those caffeinated and there's decaf and regular. If you have problems sleeping, don't blame anything but maybe you're drinking caffeinated tea. Yeah, well, we get some that are decent, but yeah, my daughter keeps those every day. Will your program help people with adrenal? Absolutely, they will. Absolutely. And if you do the year program, and that comes with a one-on-one coaching call, and I'll review your lab work. And again, I'm not trying to diagnose you, just to see what we can do from a lifestyle perspective to help you help your lab work. I'm going to diet, but when I see a picture of a burger and turn it, yeah, there's no dieting. You eat 5 times a day on my meal plan. Is coffee good for you? It has some definitely benefits for the brain. There's some hard research, but unfortunately, it's not the best for our GI tract, especially if we add things like milk and cream and things like that. Do you like mineral water? I just recommend unsparkling. Carbonated water appears to can create some havoc in our esophagus and things. Which it's called yerba mate, 2 words. It's an Ecuadorian plant. Would you recommend your program for vegans? Absolutely. There's all kind of substitutions in there. But if you're going to be a vegan or you're even thinking about it, please be a good one. There's a couple good books on the market. Bernard Jensen has a good one. Jethro Kloss has a good one. Just learn from masters. Hey, look, I'm not all that. All the work I'm talking to you guys about, I've learned from Atkins, Perrymutter, Bernard Jensen. I mean, I just built on what they taught, and they taught everything that I'm teaching you folks. But I was able to put it together because I was able to, hindsight is 20/20, right? You're too tall to be a vegan. Work smarter, not harder. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, you will. You won't really fully appreciate it. Is there any Lean Body Academy members on the scope tonight? Throw up a 1 if you would. I'm going to put it out there. Nothing is scripted. Some of them, they may have just came on, but okay. And I think in order to answer this question fairly, you have to be on the program a couple, 3 weeks. Do you now appreciate with a 1 the intelligent information that you're dealing with and how much stress and anxiety it's saving you? Yeah. It's almost too simple, right? The principles that I'm teaching you guys. You can go to leanbodyacademy.com. Follow up from mine. What about theory of getting sciatica from it? Sciatica from what? Hey, Joanne, thanks for joining. Thanks for the hearts and the shares, guys. Natural way to increase hormones. I would support your lean body mass and make sure your body fat is below 25%, because we know that body fat influences hormones now. Amazing, right? Your body fat, if it gets above a certain number, and I think they were talking 25 to 30%, influences your hormone levels. Yeah, you can crack your knuckles. Acne supplements. Let's start with your fundamental things first. I have some xylitol here in the house. Xylitol is a wood-made sugar. It's one of the most processed sugars out there. But I think we've had a bag now for 6 months, and maybe half of it's gone. Thanks, Lori, for tweeting me out there. My wife bakes with it. If I bake, but I'm too lazy to bake anymore. I just can't find the time. Hey, thank you so much. Well, you guys rule. I'm just trying to get you to think. I remember I lost my father at 56 and my 2 uncles at 55 and 31 from fully preventable lifestyle-related issues. I now teach diabetes education to doctors here in the state of California, not the treatment of it, but how to support a patient with the research that I talk about with you guys on this scope. I just want to move you to act and not wait till it's too late.